Da-da-da-da!
Da-da-da.
And we were just talking about jumpsuits when we got on here.
Christina was saying how
Yes.
she loves wearing jumpsuits.
No, I don't. Ingrid is wearing a very pretty orange jumpsuit, but I was just saying I cannot stand jumpsuits. But that's
Well, she asked me
too much work.
She said, "How do I go to the bathroom?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "I just take it off." And she's like, "That's just too much holding."
Yeah. Sorry. So you just happened to press record. Welcome to High Heels Happy Hour.
Welcome, welcome. Where we literally talk about everything.
Everything from mental health, brain health, to jumpsuits. I think that's a pretty wide scope. And we go everywhere. Yeah. So, welcome if you're new. If you're returning, welcome back.
Yes.
And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe or follow.
Yes, so you don't miss an episode.
Yes. And if you're listening to us, you can also watch us and our crazy expressions on YouTube. High Heels Happy Hour podcast channel.
Which is quite entertaining.
It's, yeah. If we may say so ourselves.
So let's check in.
You
first.
Me first. Okay. So yeah, it's been hectic. Yeah, I'm getting ready to leave for Europe to take care of my mother, who's unfortunately not doing so well, and it is a lot to fix before I go. And there's a lot of school started and kid stuff. But hey, it's all okay.
Yes, pretty busy.
Yeah, I feel a little frazzled, I'll say that.
Okay. Then for me, the children are starting, Isabella started her games. Mm-hmm. So added games and scheduling. It's been a little crazy trying to figure things out. And I'm a part of the board, a few boards. So scheduling has been quite entertaining. Just figuring everything out is. Yeah. I did upgrade to the Google Calendar. Which I think I've spoken about it before. So we all know. So Victor and I knows what's going on.
Yeah.
In the morning, you get a ding of the things you have to do today. I'm like, ooh, goodness. Yeah. But how about your hack?
My hack. Oh, I got props. It's a big prop, but I'm very excited. It just came. So I don't know if you can see what it's. No, it's the wrong way.
Yeah, I'll help you.
There we go. It's called the Knock Box. NOKBOX. We'll put a link.
Got it?
So if you're not on YouTube, it is a pre-labeled box or pre-labeled files with. Wait for YouTube. It's a big thing for all kind of important documents that you have. And it comes in this. They have a fireproof box, but it was softer. So I like this waterproof box, so you can pretty much put everything important, including your passports and all the important paperwork that you have regarding house, car, legal, medical, in one place. So I think going through with my mother, who's unfortunately has terminal cancer, you start thinking about these things. We started talking about these things, but I also thought to myself, what if something happens to me and my husband? Who is going to find all the paperwork? Or is our 20-year-old son going to have to dig through everything to find it? So I'm like, to make it easier. And also, if we live in Florida, if there's a hurricane, we can grab our knock box and pack in and know that we have all the essentials, than having to worry about the house. Or if there's an emergency somehow, you just grab the box. But you got to think about, and we talked about that before, having, not just will, but living wills and estate planning and all that stuff, having it make it as easy as possible,
Yeah.
not just for yourself, but for the people who are supposed to, if something happens, take care of.
Do the hard stuff now so it's easy for someone later.
Yes. So we haven't filled our knockbox with all the paperwork yet, and I'm sure it's going to take a little bit. I started, but I figured my husband can have that as a homework too when I'm in Europe. But no, I think the idea is great because I think we all can think it's a great, oh yeah, the notion of it, or like, yeah, that's something we should do. We should collect all the paperwork in one place. But I think from having the thought to actually doing it is a long runway. Here, having all the files already or the file folders labeled, it's like, okay, yeah, well, that's that paper, and that so much of the process has already been, the thinking has been done for you, which I think such good. And it was $159 for the box and all the labeled file folders and some other stuff. I think that's a pretty good investment.
Love it.
So that's my hack. What's yours?
Mine's a food hack.
So we're changing roles.
Yes, it's a fun food, fall fun food hack.
Okay.
And I love caramel apples. They're a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
So I saw a hack and we tried it to do a green apple and cut it in slices. So then you just cover the front of it. You put it on a stick and you cover the front of it in caramel, or a light coverage on both sides, and that's your caramel apple. Instead of having a huge apple with all that caramel, just enough in a little lollipop. And the kids loved it. They didn't even have more than one.
Like one slice?
One slice.
Okay.
And you can, I did it probably quarter inch, a little bit more than quarter inch. So I got like 4 in an apple, and that was enough versus them eating the whole apple, which...
Well, the apple itself is good for them to eat.
But
it's a lot of fiber.
But not covered in caramel.
Well, maybe we could just come up with a more healthy caramel solution.
Okay. That was not my hack. So you can come up with
I will work on that.
So you can come up with...
I like to invent my own recipes.
Yes. So you can come up with the healthier chocolate.
That's a challenge.
I just was really excited I got a little piece of an apple with caramel. I love caramel apples.
Okay. So. Oh, well. All right.
Yeah. So, right. So talking about thinking, we're going to go over a little bit on how to give our brain a little more potential.
Yeah.
So,
as I said, I'm a little frazzled. There's a little too much in my head right now, so I need this.
And we hear over and over multitasking, overwhelmness, and the lack of accountability.
Yeah. So I think with multitasking, I think we've touched on it before, but I almost feel like it's like a badge of honor for women. Like, oh, I'm so good at multitasking.
Well, your bubble's gonna be bursting.
Yeah, no, I know we've talked about it before. Like, multitasking just means doing several things badly instead of one thing well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, which it has become, like you said, the norm. Like, oh, I can do that, and this together. And since we've talked about it so much, I almost cringe. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I've had people, friends and not friends, and say, yeah, I'm going to do multitask. And I go, okay, you do you, boo. You go ahead and do you, because it's not, it doesn't work.
No.
And I'm going to go over a little bit why it doesn't work.
Okay.
So we talk about cognitive, which is probably... It is a scientific word, but cognitive means relating to, involving, or being conscious mental activities. That includes thinking, understanding, learning, and remembering. So our brain...
Those are cognitive functions, huh?
Yes. Does a lot. And some synonyms to cognitive include reasonable, empirical, analytical, good, rational, logical, and consequent. So with that said...
Some of those words I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, which one?
I can't remember, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh, that was funny. I can't remember. I was talking about brain.
Yes.
Function.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently, I need this episode more than most.
So with that, cognitive is what we can do to help our cognitiveness of our brain work better.
Mm-hmm.
So you just saying that means, this episode is perfect.
Yes.
So I'm going to go over 5 facts about the brain, and then I'm going to go over things that we could do for the brain and how it works and what does it do. Mm-hmm. So some of the stuff will be repeated. So it's probably an indication that we might need it.
Forgot it from the first time you said it. So, yeah.
So about 75 of your brain is water.
75% of 75%. Your brain. Yeah, yes. I've heard that.
Okay. And it's essential for the structure. So it's almost like a shock absorber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
So which means that proper hydration is very imperative.
Yeah.
Okay. So now with having a good hydration, which is really, comes to play with sports, is a lot of the concussions, a lot of all that stuff has TBIs. Being in the military, a lot of people suffer from TBIs.
What is TBI?
It's a traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
And it happens a lot. Explosions, Humvee accidents, when they hit their head on the floor.
And does it happen more because they're dehydrated?
Yes.
So the brain doesn't have the shock absorption. Ooh,
so I thought that was like, well, no wonder a lot of people have.
Very interesting.
So now a TBI, you can have a TBI, let's say today, and it not show up years from now. So it's one of those things that you can kind of, and a concussion, and I'm not a doctor or medical profession by all means, but a concussion, you can kind of see trauma that a concussion may cause later on in life.
Okay.
So that one. And then dehydration, as little as 2%, can have a negative cognitive behavior effect, which is pretty small if you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, number 2, multitasking is a myth. It's actually called multi-switching, which is really poor for your cognitive behavior because it actually takes time for you to switch thought process on something else and then having your brain realize it's doing something else and then switching over again. So you're constantly switching.
So it's slowing down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the amount of error proven is 50%. Ooh. And I'll tag and link some of the podcasts I listen to where I got my information. It's not just me. It's not in my head, believe me. It's not all in there. Okay. So doing one thing at a time is very, very important.
That's why we talked about the Pomodoro techniques and like concentrating on one thing at a time. Yeah. So important.
Number 3, the brain does not feel pain. So head hurts, migraine, headaches is due to something in the body and or the outer structures of the brain.
That has nerves, because the brain itself has no nerves?
Yes.
Or
it doesn't have any it's covered. It's protected.
Okay.
So the outside is what kind of
That's why they can do sometimes when they do brain surgery, you have to be awake
to see the neurons.
So that you can't. I guess you feel when they go through, but
that's actually one of the examples they talked about. Is talking about surgery. A surgeon, if a surgeon was to multitask, you'd be in trouble. Can you imagine? Yeah. No. Okay. Number 4 is brain changes over time. And that's called neuroplasticity. So now 1/3 of your brain is genetic. So it's in your genes, kind of. That's why some of the, unfortunately, disorders or like autism or some of that stuff is genetic, but 2/3 we can reshape and re-stimulate.
That's
So
good.
on my notes, I put there's hope.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, oh my gosh, like, is this going to be me? No, there is hope for you to change.
That's what they say with Alzheimer's too, and those kind of cognitive disorders, that some is genetic, but very little part is genetic, and most of it is either preventable
Or what we do.
yeah, or what we do to it. Yeah.
And 5, but not least, as your body moves, your brain grooves. So
Yes, I've heard that. I love that saying. Didn't we use that in another? I can't remember, but it's yeah.
So it increases your heart rate, which is your blood flow, which is increases everything. So the healthier you are, the more movement you have, the more activity your brain has.
Yeah.
Basically, if you don't move, you die, or you don't. A lot of the things you stop doing will kind of roll over to you knowing less, doing less, feeling less.
Yeah, I think we talked about this when we talked about energy. Because
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
energize your mind. You need to move the body.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
so great.
In other words, it's very important.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go over a couple things that you can do. And we've talked about a few of them, but some of the stuff, it goes into exactly what it helps with. So mindfulness meditation. It says how it helps. It enhances focus, reduces stress, and increases gray matter in the areas of the brain associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. So not only does it reduce stress, but the memory alone is, how many times have you, gone shopping and you're like, wait, what was I supposed to get? Or you're going to the store and you'll get everything everything in your cart is everything but the item you went into to get.
Or just going into a room and you're like, wait, why did I walk into this room again? What was I going to get here? That happens.
And that's a good indication that you might need to start.
Yeah. And it does happen, I'm sure, with age and with, memory loss. But I think, especially when you're like me, a little frazzled, and there's a lot going on and you're trying to do too many things, that's definitely, it happens way more than you go, wait, why was I doing this?
And when you're going through that, it's probably more reason why you should do a little bit more mindfulness, because you have all these things going on. And I know you're not a believer in multitasking.
No.
So
no. Sometimes it just happens without you thinking.
Yes.
I mean, multitasking, sometimes you start several things at the same time. And
really catch yourself. So a good thing for meditation is focusing on your breathing or a specific thought.
Or a tissue.
Or a tissue, yes. That episode, we have that episode.
Yes.
So it just helps bring your mind back to center. So just that few minutes of center is...
That's good to think about, because a lot of us that are not used to meditating on a regular basis, we're sometimes worried that we think that our brain has to go blank when we meditate, and sometimes we say, oh, I just can't, my brain can't shut up. I just can't, I go through all the things I need to do. That's why the concentrating on one thing, like not multitasking when we're trying to do meditation, but to concentrate on that one thing really helps.
It's a little different. We talked about mindfulness, but this brought it back to exactly what to pinpoint to, which I thought was really, really interesting. And this one is, you've talked about this quite a bit, is continuously learning.
That's right. What you said, the brain, it's
neuroplasticity. It stimulates the neuroplasticity.
Constantly growing. Yes. Isn't that great that we can always learn new things?
And actually the brain, it helps the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections.
Mhm.
So fancy words.
But they've shown that people that up in old age continue doing things like Sudoku or crossword
Yes.
puzzles or anything that where your brain needs to you need to use your brain. It's so much healthier.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So pick up puzzles, okay? That's actually on here too.
Mm.
And how many times have we talked about this? Exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise.
It's a red thread.
Yeah. You don't, it's like if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yep.
Basically. So physical exercise, aerobic exercise like running, swimming increases the blood flow to the brain, which promotes brain health. And again, look at this. It stimulates new growth of neurons.
Mm.
So it's not just, you haven't listened to the episode, for body image or anything to make it look better, but you can use your brain. Your brain will get healthier and healthier.
Yep.
You only have one. You
Yep.
can't get those implanted. Well, no, not yet.
Who knows?
Not yet.
Artificial brain. Artificial.
Yeah, well,
Might be a thing.
maybe. And Christina has talked about this before, about the brisk walking. If you can't run,
yeah,
or you're not able to run, brisk walking.
And for a lot of us, running is not probably something we should do. So then walking brisk pace will give the same effect to, not for your VO2 max, but for brain activity and health.
And sleep.
Ingrid,
sleep is
your favorite
crucial.
subject.
Yes, I've attempted to be better at sleeping, but it's for memory consolidation, cognitive function, which, if you remember earlier about rational, reasonable, good, and consequent, if you're tired, haven't slept, all of those are impacted.
Yeah.
You know, one of the trainings that they do, and I can relate to this because I was in the military, is they think it's really cool to not have you sleep and then function, and you're really frazzled. And you do stuff, but some of the times we would do activities or assignments, and we wouldn't even know how we finished the assignment because we couldn't go back and actually think of how we did it. So it's not.
No, but when you're not sleeping, you feel a little dumb.
Yeah,
I feel like a little stupid when I don't get enough sleep. It's like, huh?
Well, imagine having to function. It's like your brain is almost like an overworked.
Yeah.
So anyways, so poor sleep is not really good. And it can decline cognitive behavior and memory issues, which obviously.
Yeah.
And it says here 7 to 9 hours, which you
that's
have
what
mentioned.
We're talking about. Yeah, 7 to 9 is the magic dose.
And really key is avoiding that screen time. That blue light is, people usually watch TV to fall asleep and they leave it on. Your subconscious mind is always listening. So if you're gonna leave something on, you can do music or like white noise, which is very calming.
Yeah.
So that would be better, and something that will almost shut off after a certain time.
Yeah.
So that way it doesn't stay on, because you don't want rap music and all those words in your. You wake up singing not so good words. And this one you just kind of hopped on a little bit is mental stimulation, which is puzzles. So now it helps with, like, chess is also added here, and mental agility, which is great for problem solving.
Yeah.
So daily routines, a lot of the apps have it, but again, if you're using it on an app, don't do it before you go to bed.
But it's like Wordle and all those things that are popular now. Those are great. Sudoku, Wordle, crossword puzzles, the children use puzzles.
Sudoku? That's the math one, right? The number one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The kids like to play that one. And crossword puzzles are really good. Although I'm not really great at crossword puzzles.
It's a little hard, man. Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good indication I should pick it up.
Yeah.
I'm not great at that. And diet, healthy diet. So diet is a really...
That's also red thread. We've been talking about that before, haven't we?
Yes. So diet, not so much on a diet,
Mm-hmm.
but a diet rich in omega-3 fatty acids,
Mm-hmm.
antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. It supports the brain function and reduces the risk of cognitive decline.
Yeah.
So, again, not only good food, but really good in these categories.
Yeah.
So, not only these, but this is really important. Incorporate foods like fatty fish, nuts and seeds, and berries, and avoid excessive sugar and processed foods. I don't know if you've ever
Because
mentioned
those
that.
are not never. Anything that's inflammatory would I'm sure slow down brain. Because they call um, Alzheimer's and those kind of cognitive diseases almost like a diabetes diet. I can't speak today.
No, you got it. Diabetic.
Well, type 3, not type 1, type 2, but type 3, because it's like a diabetes of the brain.
I can see that. I mean, even when you don't eat so good or you feel off.
Yeah.
So it's just
A supplement that has been shown, a supplement that is very well researched. One of the, I think, most researched supplements out there is creatine that we talk about for muscle preservation and building muscle, but it also has proven great for cognitive health.
Huh.
So another reason why.
And that helps with retention of water. Sometimes
fluids, yes.
Which that helps.
Yeah.
See, there's always something that helps something else. Okay, and then we have healthy habits. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Stress management.
Mm-hmm.
So stress, particularly, let's see if I can, the hippocampus. Hippocampus. I always say that wrong, but in memory, and that's due to memory and learning.
Yeah.
That stimulates both. So reducing stress can protect your brain and improve cognitive behavior. So if you're stressed, you're usually, overwhelmed, frazzled, overthinking. So all those things are not very beneficial.
Yeah.
And I know life happens and there's always stress, but you can work on reducing the stress.
And we just did an episode on that, so go back to that episode.
Yes. So,
see, building on each episode here. There's a method to the madness.
And one of the things is, with management, stress management, is progressive muscle relaxation. Mm-hmm. So is learning how to have that reset capability. Is stress is going to happen. Things are going to happen. Things are going to pop up. Everything's going to be stressful. But having that reset, being able to reset faster and better.
It's like look at an athlete, the way they can quickly turn, shift, bounce back. That's just what you want the brain to.
It just made me think of Ross from Friends as Pivot. I love that show. But just learning how to pivot will help all around your brain. What is it? Capability? Brain capability. And then avoiding toxins and healthy habits. We've talked about, alcohol, recreational drugs. That can really damage your skin. That can really damage your skin too. But your brain, it's, a lot of people say, oh, just a little bit. Or a little bit, that's all it might take, just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just being aware. Oh, alternative. I mean, you don't really, I'm not here to tell you what you do or do not need for alcohol, but talking about the brain.
And it's just important to know too. I mean, it's your choice, but just so you know, it's not just, the alcohol is not just a question of weight or fat or whatever, fatty liver. It's also has definitely implications in your brain. Yeah.
Sometimes you're not literally thinking straight.
But it's also, when you talk about toxins, there's also external toxins in our environment.
Yes.
That definitely, so trying to cut down on what we can. I mean,
Or even smoking.
pollution,
Yes.
everything. We need to. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot more cognitive issues, or our kids or next generations, unless we do something about all the toxins in our environment.
Mhm. And sometimes we can't, like, we can't change where we live or what we intake, but just being aware of that there are things that you can do
Mhm.
to help.
Yeah.
And those of us that have children, we have to instill in them now, because there's a study showing that around age 12 is where they do all their cognitive complex problem solving.
Oh shoot, it's too late.
Well, for some of us, I mentioned this to you, is that was a year during COVID for a lot of the high school students.
Yeah.
And you notice that a lot of them don't want to work and hustle or do things on their own because they were so confined to so much stuff.
Yeah.
That complex cognitive behavior problem solving is missing.
Very interesting.
So I thought that was. I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm like, I see a lot of kids at school and I'm like, it's so different. And after reading this, I was like, cool.
Yeah.
That's why it's so different. And it's not their fault or our fault. It's what we were exposed to. So now, going forward, it has to be worked on just a little bit harder for them to go over that hump of understanding stuff. So that's what I have for the brain.
Oh, wow. The brain. Maybe it needs to be a...
No, and we can definitely go into some more in
No, but
detail
it's good
after.
to have a little things that we can all do right here, right now, and not to keep our brain in mind.
And with the learning, with reading, Sebastian doesn't really enjoy reading, and it's very important.
Yeah,
to read.
Yeah.
So,
but just like the brain is a the brain is a muscle. And just like other muscles, as you said, if you don't use it, you lose it. And it can expand and it can shrink, just like any other muscle. But I think sometimes we think we're set, and it's like, well, this is I was born with this IQ. It's not quite.
Yeah, no. Do you remember it's 1/3 genetic and 2/3 you can change?
Yep.
So what are you going to do with your 2/3?
How are you going to get smarter today?
Because you actually
to ask
have
yourself
the ability to do so.
How am I going to get smarter today?
Can't blame your genes anymore.
No. No.
Well, Christina.
All right. Let's go do some puzzles or something. Let's go solve some problems.
Love it. Cheers.
Cheers.